Live from the KATC TV3 studios, this is Acadiana's news channel at 5.
Good evening, everyone. The search is over tonight for an inmate who escaped in Lafayette, making some big, bold moves to try and escape capture.
Some of which were shared on social media hundreds of thousands of times leading up to his arrest this afternoon. We sent out the first push alert warning viewers just after 8 this morning that Shane Thomas walked out of the Lafayette Sheriff's Transitional Housing Facility late last night. Then
a phone call from a car dealership in Lafayette came into the newsroom saying the inmate had taken off in one of their cars. They sent us this picture allegedly of him wearing the dealership t-shirt, posing in front of a Mustang convertible they thought he would be buying. They soon found out, though, who he was, but not before he took off.
And that picture got hundreds of shares in minutes and reports of sightings in Acadia Parish. And this is one of the last images we've seen of him in handcuffs in front of a Dollar General in Rain, which is where we find our own Travis Guillory, who's been following the story all day. Travis.
Now, Marcel, Shane Thomas was arrested at this Dollar General in Rain around 3 this afternoon. Now, when we just got here a few minutes ago, police were still here, and as was the Mustang that was stolen, but those have since left, and it was a very, very busy day for police and also for the captured inmate.
An inmate left our facility unauthorized.
Shane Thomas escaped from the sheriff's transitional facility less than a year before he was eligible for parole.
It's someone that, we're concerned about. He shouldn't be out loose in the streets.
A spokesperson with the sheriff's office said an alarm sounded when Thomas escaped, but officers didn't have enough time to get to him. But how exactly did he get out? He just opened the door and walked out. But that's not where the story ends. After breaking free, the convicted car thief stole a white Ford Mustang convertible from the posh pre-owned lot, even posing for pictures with the car and the salesperson. And we aren't hearing much from police about the case, but we were told by many of our viewers today that they spotted Thomas around the Crowley area, once getting gas and then again ordering food at a McDonald's. And one viewer even told us that it was the pictures that we posted of Thomas and the car on our social media pages that led to him calling police and eventually the arrest here at Dollar General in Rain. I'm Travis Guillory. Back to you guys.
All right, Travis, thanks. And Thomas's escape caused problems for more than just the sheriff's office.
That's right. J. Wallace James Elementary is less than a mile away from the transitional facility. The school's principal says the school is prepared for situations like this one.
Our school, because of the location, stays in constant lockdown. So we have to be very vigilant all the time and think of different scenarios that can happen.
New developments in St. Mary Parish. The search for an escaped inmate is now focusing on the Sharonton area. Drake Domain is an Assumption Parish inmate. He was being transferred to St. Mary Parish when he escaped in the Morgan City area yesterday. There are reports he was spotted in Sharonton, so everyone in that area is tonight asked to be on the lookout. He was in custody on several drug charges, resisting arrest, and traffic violations. Deputies warn he should be considered dangerous.
One of the men charged in a crime against one of the owners of Knight Oil Tools is now pleading guilty to conspiracy and intimidation charges. Russell Manuel could have faced up to 40 years in prison for helping Mark Knight attempt to frame his brother Brian and get him out of the family business. Our Valerie Poncetti was at Manuel's hearing today. She joins us live outside the parish courthouse. And Valerie, update us on the plea deal Manuel accepted.
With all of his charges combined, Manuel could have been looking at more than $100,000 in fines and decades in jail. Instead, Manuel will serve 5 years probation and pay less than $700 in fines after accepting a plea deal. Manuel pleaded guilty to intimidating a witness, conspiracy, and drug charges. He also agreed to testify against Mark Knight during his upcoming trial. Manuel's attorneys told me today that he is extremely sorry for taking any part in the crime of planting drugs under Brian Knight's car and setting up his arrest.
In this particular case, I think Russ is extremely happy that the district attorney's office was able to extend this plea to him and allow him an opportunity to cooperate with them in search of leniency as well as justice.
And pretrial hearings for the other defendants in this case are expected to start next February. Live in Lafayette, Valerie Poncetti, KATC TV3.
Right now, the right lane of I-49 past Highway 190 is blocked because of an overturned 18-wheeler. Traffic is still passing through the left lane. Authorities say the backup from the crash, though, is minimal.
Parish by parish headlines now. We begin in St. Landry, where an Arnaville man is now in jail in connection with the death of his parents' neighbor. Stoney Bergeron was arrested in New Mexico in connection with the death of Claiborne Pender. Pender's body was found in his home last week. As we reported earlier this week, Bergeron has spent time in an Oregon prison for an armed robbery of a convenience store.
In Evangeline Parish, the village of Esterwood is no longer under a boil water advisory. Recent water samples tested by DHH came back clean. And a new warning about an old scam. A number of you have been getting phone calls supposedly from the IRS. The caller says if you don't pay your back taxes or set up a payment plan within 2 hours, deputies will come to your house and arrest you. The problem, though, deputies say none of it is true.
No one's going to call you over the phone and say, hey, you owe us money, please send us money through the mail. It just don't operate that way. And again, if you have any concerns, if you do receive a phone call, please feel free to contact us here at the Sheriff's Office, or I would call the IRS just to confirm the information that you received.
More than 400 middle school students in St. Martin Parish are taking part in the annual Back to School Summit. Students went to the Southwest Center for Rural Initiatives, where several guest speakers shared their knowledge.
So we really wanted to talk to them before they make the jump to high school and eventually adolescence, to say, hey, these choices are important, this is what you should do, these are some positive things that have come from my choices, and there's also negativity, but even if those mistakes are made, you can always bounce back from them.
In state news, the trial for the man accused of shooting and killing former Saints player Will Smith is now pushed back to December. The trial was moved from November 2nd because a police officer expected to testify in the case will be out of the country then. Prosecutors say the suspect, Cardell Hayes, started an argument with Smith by ramming into his SUV. Defense lawyers argue Hayes fired in self-defense, though, after Smith, they say, went to his car to get his gun. The state will borrow up to $400 million from 2 banks to help keep paying the bills at state agencies. Bond commissioners agreed this morning to the short-term loans, which will be drawn down as needed and must be repaid by next April. The loans are likely to cost the state more than $1 million in interest and other fees.
Here's Rob's 24-hour forecast.
Well, plenty of tropical showers and thunder showers on Power Doppler HD late this afternoon. Activity plaguing the western and northwestern part of the area. And then also some pretty hefty storms moving across portions of Iberia through Vermilion Parish, right along and south of the Highway 14 corridor. So some active weather through this evening. Rain chances will stay relatively robust through about 8 or 9 o'clock tonight. Then fair to partly cloudy skies later on. Rain chances diminish. Then tomorrow, pretty good chance of daytime showers and storms once again. Chance of getting wet increasing to 60% for tomorrow. Rain chances look to stay elevated through this weekend. We'll have details on the rain timing for this weekend and update you on what's happening in the tropics coming up in just a little bit.
Those of you recovering from the historic flood in St. Martin Parish are reminded to bring your flood debris to the curb. Once that's done, you can call the number right there on your screen and let the government officials know you have debris at the curbside. Officials say they will continue flood debris pickup for as long as it's necessary. Volunteers at Acadiana United are pouring through an 18-wheeler of donations for flood victims. Dozens of volunteers unloaded the truck this morning at the distribution center in Dusau.
We're looking at potentially getting in, sheetrock, wood supplies, so we can help the rebuild process. But as long as the need is here for food, pantry, water, cleaning supplies, the general stuff, we will continue to provide that on an as-needed basis.
After the historic flood, many business owners are now reviewing their disaster policies. Emergency professionals met in a free session with people at Acadia General Hospital to learn how to survive a disaster and what to do in the aftermath.
The interesting thing about this region is that we have more or less a predictable disaster cycle about this time of year during hurricane season. So it's always before us. In other communities, it's a little more of a challenge, but it's important for us all to think about emergency planning, preparedness, family protection, and safety, just as a general course of our business.
Coming up on Acadiana's News Channel at 5, your first chance at some early bird prizes in this year's Home for the Holidays campaign. Call 236-6333. We'll be live in the phone bank coming up at 5:25.
But first, Rob's full tribute forecast for where you live. We'll be right back.